Now, how about them damn Celtics?
All right, we're back. Another Celtics video today talking about Charles Bassey. Noah Dalzell of Celtics blog put it out the other day that Charles Bassey does not plan on going overseas, as was previously reported or sourced or speculated by other outlets, but instead is still trying to make it in the NBA. Said Charles Bassey's not planning to play overseas. Multiple outlets previously reported that he was seriously considering signing with Serbian club Partizan Belgrade, but he currently plans to play in the NBA next season. Bassey would especially love to sign with the Celtics if the opportunity presented itself, sources said. How realistic that might be remains to be seen. So it sounds like Bassey is definitely focused on finding a spot in the NBA, which I don't think is crazy. I think he proved at Summer League that he is an NBA level talent at the very least, and the Celtics would make a ton of sense for him. So we'll see what happens.
Celtics would make sense for any center. Just about anybody. Anybody want to come play here? They'll take you. They will. Charles Bassey, this has been a little bit of a weird saga because he comes into Summer League surprise. They brought him out like the Royal Rumble, like nobody knew he was going to be there. I guess he was at the practice facility and everything, as you mentioned, when we were going over it. But he wasn't listed on the roster. First game rolls around, he's there. Plays a couple games, doesn't start, and then all of a sudden he's not on the roster anymore. At the time, can you remind me, what was the reporting? Like, what were the people around the team saying about that when he just wasn't there?
It came together very late. He signed with the team right at the end, or right at the start of training camp, and so he wasn't there in time for the first practice session for Summer League. I said training camp, the first Summer League practice, and so he wasn't on the roster, and then he was added to the roster late, and no one really knew about it because it was just like everything came together late, basically.
What about him leaving Summer League early?
His deal was just for 3 games. It's just
really?
He had a deal in
That's
place
odd.
for a few games, and that's all it was. And then he was like, "All right, that's good." And so it was just like that's what his deal for Summer League was.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Well, he did play really well, and he showed a lot of promise in terms of being an effective rebounder without having to get his own misses. Like I talked about it when we did the Nemi video, making fun of like a lot of Nemi's offensive rebounds come off of his own misses. There was the game where Bassey had like 7 offensive rebounds and he only missed 1 shot. So like only one of those could have been his own miss. That's the kind of thing that would separate him from a Nemi. Though they would have similar offensive skill sets where they're not really going to be doing anything other than catching and finishing in the paint. Bassey is probably a better rebounder. I don't know what his NBA resume looks like in terms of defense, but hopefully he'd be able to hold his own on that end of the floor too. Regardless, the Celtics could use as much help as they could get at center. Having the most amount of options is probably the best thing for them this year. Maybe they find 1 or 2 that they like that they stick with, and they make those guys rotation pieces next year, or somebody blossoms into a real starting level guy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he is 2 years younger than Nemi Ishketa. He has, I don't know if I would argue more NBA experience consistently, but he's played 4 years. The problem with Bassey is he's never really healthy. He's never played more than 40 games in a single season. He played 23, 35, 19, and 36. Part of that is early in your career, you don't usually play a lot of games if you're not a part of the regular rotation. So those 23 and 35 games could have just been he wasn't a part of the rotation in Philly or San Antonio. Last year, 36 games. Like, it's just he hasn't proven that he could stay on the court, but part of it could have been he wasn't given the opportunity to. Regardless, he's 24 years old. Last year in San Antonio, in his 36 games, he averaged 4 points, 4 rebounds, almost a block a game at 0.8 a game. Shot okay. 58% is not the best, but in years prior, he shot 72, 64, 64. So, like, he's proven he can do that. At this point, you really only have 2 centers you're comfortable playing in your rotation, and one of them is Luka Garza, and the other is Amish Keita. Why not? Right? Like, just why not? We'll go at least training camp, right? At least sign up for training camp, see what happens. The question is then who you leave from there. I mean, everyone's going to say, oh, waive Xavier Tillman. Yeah. Or you could try to dump Xavier Tillman's contract in a trade, or you could try to attach him and send him somewhere else and they'll buy him out. Like, there's a bunch of options. I think Tillman is probably the most obvious of, okay, he can go, or maybe they'd rather keep him and just roll with him, even though I don't know. I have no explanation as to why they would do that, but maybe it'll happen. I don't hate Bassey. I wouldn't mind Bassey playing in Boston next season. I think it'd be a fun new addition. I think he could be a guy you take a chance on. He's a bit, I don't want to say undersized, but Neemias Queta is 7 foot, maybe 7'1". Charles Bassey is 6'10", so that could, get him in a little bit of trouble, even though we've seen centers play at that height before. Obviously, Horford's like 6'8", 6'9", but I'm down. I think Bassey would be a fine signing.
Yeah, the opportunity would be plentiful. You would have to imagine. He has enough NBA experience where it's not like Amari Williams getting thrown into the fire and we'd be expecting too much of him if we projected him to be a starter, at least like the first guy off the bench for Boston. Like, it would be very possible that he would come in and be the first big guy off the bench. I think Nemi would probably still be the starter just out of like tenure, seniority. That kind of seems like the route Mazzulla would take with it. But with that being said, he's had Nemi on the team every year since he's been the coach, or not every year, but 2 of the 3 years since he's been the coach. Hasn't really leaned into him too much. They've had plenty of center talent, yes, but his minutes have been very sparse. So I'm sure Mazzulla has some sort of feeling, standpoint on what he sees as Nemi's role going forward. And if he thinks Bassey has a higher ceiling, he would probably play him. But going into the season, I think it would make the most sense for Nemi to start.
I think Nemi's going to get the opportunity to start next season. I think he's going to play. I think he's going to be the Celtics starter on opening night. I think that is what the Celtics plan is going to be. However, the Celtics plan last year could have been, all right, let's give Nemi these developmental minutes, and then they saw what Cornette did, and they were like, okay, let's do that instead. Celtics plan last year was to play Xavier Tillman some center minutes, and then you saw what happened from there, right? Like, plans change if players are bad, and if Neemias Queta is bad and Charles Bassey is on the roster, I think, like you said, I don't think Joe would hesitate. So, there's also the bit of Neemias having knee surgery this summer, which Bobby Manning reported from his time in Portugal. So that's something to monitor as well. I don't think it's going to affect him. He even expects to play in Eurobasket for Portugal. So I don't know. I think Charles Bassey would be a smart signing for the Celtics. I think he is young at 24 to where you could still find something there that's more than what he's shown so far. I think he showed enough for you in Summer League to be of interest. And from there, it's just a matter of filling out your roster to the best of your ability. And I think adding another center would be smart because the ones you have aren't the best. So let us know what you guys think at home. Leave a like, subscribe, and all that. Sam, take it out.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening and watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment. Let us know what you think of Charles Bassey and Nemi. Subscribe to the channel. We are here every single day with new content. Full pods drop Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Game recaps are up the morning after each game in season. And other videos are here in between to keep you up to date with all things Celtics. You can find the two of us on Spotify and Apple as well. All pods and recaps are there. So if you just want the audio versions, go ahead, follow. Those will go right to your feed. Leave a 5-star review. We'd appreciate that very, very much. You can email us, hbtcpod@gmail.com. We're reading them every single time we do a pod. As you guys hear this, we're doing one at some point today. So get them in, hbtcpod@gmail.com. Our socials are at How About Them C's for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Facebook is the name of the podcast. All streams are there. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitter. Jack's Twitter's at Jackson1NBA. Mine's at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us.
Taco. Come on. Taco.